I'm going to start off showing you how to sew the frame option, which I'm going to be showing you with the small purse today. With the large one, I'm going to show you the zipper option. So you need your piece A, and these different marks are helpful to transfer over to your piece. So I've marked the centers and these side markings. And on one of my exteriors, I marked the magnetic snaps, and I already marked where the prongs are. So that's going to be the first thing that I do. We are going to be doing the thin side of the magnet snaps, or your spring snaps if you want. Forgot to prepare my stabilizer. Okay. Oops. First one, second one. There we go. Okay, I'm going to start the sewing part now. Right sides together. We're going to start with the exterior. This is slippery fabric, so even though this is a short seam I'm sewing, I'm going to go ahead and clip these pieces together. I am only sewing from this line down to the bottom, but I'm going to get this ready too because we're sewing the lining right after. Okay, so 1/4 inch 6mm seam allowance. Start at the line and back stitch, and then go to the bottom and back stitch. Repeat on the other side. And then I like to trim this just a little bit. It's already not a very big seam, but I just trim a little bit of this off and set that aside. Get your lining. And this is not quite the same. We're going to start at the top at 1/4 inch, but we're going to angle down. So down at this bottom part, it's a 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeters. And this just helps it sit better on the inside, so that it doesn't get too bulky. Then I will trim this. Okay, now I need both pieces. And the lining gets turned right side out and placed inside the exterior. I find this sewing the frame version by far easier than sewing the zipper. Putting a person to a frame though can be tricky the first time, and I can understand why people are nervous of it, but this is just so much easier than the zipper to sew. Okay, so what I am doing here is I'm matching the top centers and then the top corners. And then I'm going to work my way down till I get to this side right here. And this side over here. Now I'm going to repeat that on this side. Middle, corners, I prefer to sew this with my free arm, but if you don't have a free arm, you can just stitch from the inside like this. I stitch from the outside. And I am going to start at the top. You can start on the edge, but I find it a little easier if I just start at the top and move towards the edge. So I'm going to sew, and then when I get 1/4 of an inch away from this edge, pivot. I'm going to go all the way down till I get to this line of stitching where I ended before, and stop there and backstitch. Needle up, trim the seam, and here I'm going to place this underneath and push aside this bottom and this other side. Then we're going to start at this side line of stitching, up, pivot, oops, forgot to lift up. While I sew, I'm glancing over at the instructions to make sure that I'm instructing you in steps in the same way as I am. Make sure my instructions are the same order as my video. Occasionally I mix up on that a little bit, but okay. So we sewed all the way around, and now you can trim all these seams, corners. Alright, you now need to turn this right side out, and a corner thing like this is very helpful. Alright, corner thing. Sorry, I'm trying to keep what I'm sewing in focus, but sometimes when I'm trying to see it myself, I move it out of the middle. Okay. Now I am going to top stitch around this entire top edge, but I am going to put some clips on this just to keep it from shifting around. This is another part where I prefer to do it with my free arm off. And I increased my stitch length. Down here, pivot. This seam doesn't have to be perfectly straight because it's not going to be seen unless you're doing a sew-in frame, and then only the inside will be seen. And I usually use the inside as my seam to sew on top of as a guideline when I'm sewing on top. So either way, this shouldn't be, it doesn't have to be straight. And you don't want to get too far away from the edge either, otherwise it'll be visible even with the frame. In fact, that's what I did here. I think that might end up being visible, so I am, oops. Just going to take out these, oops, this line of stitching that's farther away from the edge. And that should be fine. All right, I'm going to end the video here because from here on it's the same for the zipper and the frame top, but I've got to go teach you how to make the zipper top, so I will see you in a minute.